Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me for another Scream Queens review. Today, I will be talking about Season 2, Episode 6, Blood Drive, and as always, there will be episode spoilers. And if you've watched any of my other reviews, you know that I think Scream Queens has been going in the wrong direction lately, and I really thought last week's episode was as poor as the show's ever been. But on the positive side, I try and look at things from a positive perspective. And I did feel that parts of today's episode were effective, and overall, the episode was slightly better than last week, even though I do still think there's a lot of problems, and the first half of the episode was basically pointless. So we started this episode with finding out some information about Nurse Ingrid. We found out that her sister was the maid that worked for the Chanels last season and was killed. So her whole goal is to get revenge on all the Chanels. Also, a main theme running through this episode is that there is this blood drive contest, and basically, whoever can get the most blood donated to the hospital will win. And Nurse Ingrid is using this as a plan to give a trip to this place, Blood Island, and she's hoping that one of the Chanels will win, and she'll be able to get rid of them that way. Kind of an elaborate plan, and it seems like other things would make more sense, but it's Scream Queen, so you got to just kind of go with it. Other things that happen here, Dr. Brock's still having trouble with his hand. Hester gets a new job trying to cure this vampire, which is completely unfunny in my opinion, and they are really wasting the character of Hester, who used to be interesting and now is just kind of there to provide slight amusement, which she was slightly amusing, but I would like to see her in a better storyline. None of the new Chanels are funny, but I don't really think it's the fault of the actresses, as none of their characters are developed at all. They're basically just there to be fodder for the killer at this point. And then we get this random scene about halfway through the episode, which in my opinion sums up all of Scream Queen's problems right now. We get this slow motion scene between the Dean and Chanel Oberlin, which is over the top and just not funny at all. Fortunately, I do think that the second half of the episode picked up somewhat and was worthwhile for the most part. So it turns out Chanel Oberlin still wants to win the contest, but she's been sabotaged by the Dean. So she convinces Chanel number 9, one of the new Chanels, to give blood because number 5 can't give anymore because she's been being abused again, which, as I've said before, is getting really old. So, of course, when Chanel number 9 is giving this blood, the killer walks in and Nurse Ingrid also walks in. The killer reveals himself to be Dr. Cascade, which is really no surprise. But what is a little surprising is that Nurse Ingrid, who also wants to kill the Chanels, performs this kill by herself and basically makes a deal with Dr. Cascade. The scene was actually kind of gruesome and even a little bit disturbing. I thought it was a very well done scene and a step in the right direction for the show. So now we have basically Nurse Ingrid and Dr. Cascade working together. More on that at the end of the episode. So also in this episode, we get a little bit more of Zayday, who's a little bit of an underused character at this point, and Chamberlain, who's definitely way underused. And they agree to work together when Chamberlain proves that he's not the killer through some kind of ridiculous means, but it's Scream Queens. This was fine, I guess. So at this point, Dr. Cascade, knowing Zayday's getting close, switches his blood samples with Dr. Holt's. So Dr. Holt gets accused of being the killer, and of course his hand goes crazy. He makes a threat, so now he is the prime suspect. And at the end, we see we do have 2 killers, as now Nurse Ingrid is wearing a very similar costume to Dr. Cascade. So a satisfying ending. The second half of the episode was a little uneven, but I did think it was worthwhile, and it connected well to last week's episode. Unfortunately, everything in the first half of this episode was pretty much a waste of time and hard to watch in my opinion. But I do feel this episode was a slight improvement. Once again, the soundtrack did not impress me, and there's just not as many fun laughs in the show as there was last year. Too many disposable characters in my opinion. But I did think parts of this episode were okay. So I'm going to give Blood Drive a 2 out of 5 and a little bit of a step in the right direction, and it'll at least keep me going for another week. So 2 out of 5 for Blood Drive, and as always, thank you very much for watching.